マシュ、君はたくさんの絆と未来に踏み出す意志と勇気を持っている。安心したい。俺はここで世界中を守る。この大陸にとって最後の希望を守る。亡くなった仲間たちのために二度と戻らないあの時間のため諦めるんだ。この先には進ませない。
騎士の使命は弱者を守ること。子供たちが戦争で傷つけられるのを私は絶対に許せない。三将騎士団団長ヘレナ、参上いたしました。三将騎士団突撃。正義のために慈悲は何とすることなく大事なものを守るために強くならなきゃ。
明日のために。
Hey Frontier, welcome back.
Howdy.
And both of us just rewatched that trailer for Old Landius and Helena. Do you have any thoughts on that?
The music was definitely had that feeling of just Landius just being here. What is it for?
Yeah, this is my favorite trailer that they've made for the game so far.
It definitely seemed to you that just stoic, just like I have been here and I have seen it all.
I guess it's like extra appealing to those who have played the original games before. Landius, he's the main character in 4, and you get to know the guy, and you think he has a happy ending, but it's like this is pretty logical where he ended up in life. So today we're going to be talking about the next global patch, which is Old Landius and Helena. So once again, this is a global patch, so we have talked about this before in the past when it first came out on the Chinese server. For that episode, I was talking with S2 still, and Hasohapa had joined us. So today we're just going to go back and revisit these characters right before they come out on the global server, just for people who might have missed that episode, or maybe you want to have a bit of a refresher on how these characters work. And of course we'll try to amend any mistakes we might have made in the past episode, because we weren't entirely sure how these characters worked ourselves yet, and we weren't sure what place in the meta they might have yet. However, now we have a better idea, of course, because it's several months later. And of course, for that same reason, this episode will probably be a shorter episode so that we don't repeat ourselves too much. Old Landius is long awaited, and Helena is not so much, but let's start with Helena, because she's probably the less interesting one of the two. So those of you who are already advanced in the second year story will have already met Helena. She's sort of like the honorable general of the Regenberg Empire. So her kit is very similar to Leon's and I guess Rosalia's as well, and her factions are Glory and Empire, which, Empire has Leon, Glory has Rosalia, so now you have Helena who's in both. And I gotta say, Helena is not very impressive. When I first saw her, she seemed kind of interesting. But, basically Helena got almost no use on the Chinese server, not even for PvE, and I guess I'll talk about a little bit about why. But first off, let's look at her bonds real quick. Her bonds are Brenda and Virash, okay? These are two units that I think most people don't have.
Yeah, I barely got Virash.
Yeah, I don't think I even have Virash at all. And Brenda, I got Brenda as an off banner at one point. But I mean, it's for most people, they do not have these characters even pulled, because they haven't really been on Destiny banners that much. And it's possible that people skipped over those Destiny banners. So just from that right off the bat, it might be difficult to get her bonds, even if you like her character design or whatever, and you really want to use her. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. But anyway, talking about what she does, she's another Cav DPS unit right after we got Rosalia. She's yet again kind of similar to Leon and Rosalia in that she has chivalry. She's got pretty decent attack. She's got some pretty high power single target moves. And within her kit, I would say she has two unique claims to fame here. First, she has another terrain effect. She creates this terrain effect over anything she walks over before she takes action. So if you run up to attack someone's a tank, all of Helena's all the tiles she walked over will become this crystal terrain. And basically what this crystal terrain does is that when Helena tries to walk back through it, she gets to walk over the crystal terrain for free. The crystal terrain only lasts 2 turns, but if you lay down enough crystal terrain, maybe Helena can get like pretty crazy movement around the map, which is kind of interesting. The other thing is that this crystal terrain can also disable equipment randomly.
Oh.
At 6 stars, she actually has a 100% chance to disable a random piece of equipment on enemies that walk onto the tile. So that's sort of her unique mechanic here, is that she can disable equipment.
That would only work for PvP, right?
Yes, it is only for PvP.
Okay.
If you look at her talent, it actually says that if the enemy unit that comes onto this onto the crystal terrain is not a player character, then instead they get random stat minus 25%.
Oh, okay.
So Helena is kind of the first character we're getting where they have different effects based on whether they're in PvP or PvE. We're gonna get like a handful of other characters in the future that have similar things, but yeah, Helena's, I guess, their first go at this.
Makes sense.
Her gimmick is walking over a crystal terrain for free, and she can disable equipment. So these both might sound very powerful, but because of the way her kit is structured, she can't really make a whole lot of use of these abilities, and I think that's why she really didn't see that much use on the Chinese server. So let's start with her free movement over the crystal terrain. Obviously, like, if you're in a long fight and you've gotten a lot of crystal terrain down from Helena walking all over the place, like, maybe that's kind of useful. The problem is that Helena does not have a move again skill of any kind. She doesn't have the move again passive. None of her attacks say move again after attacking. She doesn't have anything that enables her to move again. And first time we talked about this, we talked about it with Hasohapa. And one thing I suggested was, like, okay, maybe she can use Spirit Boots. From everything I know, like, people have tested that since then, and Spirit Boots actually does not work for the crystal terrain. If you use Spirit Boots on her, she will still only be able to retreat 2 blocks, which is just a huge letdown. I mean, honestly, like, I feel like it wouldn't even be that busted, because if you gave her Spirit Boots, she loses out on so much attack. So it's kind of lame that she can't even use Spirit Boots to take advantage of that, but there you go. She, like, the free movement is not very useful in PvP, at least. Like, because, like, in PvP, if you run forward and attack, you want to, like, get back to safety somehow.
Yeah. I was about to say, what about Spirit Boots? Well, you already answered my question. That's kind of sad and disappointing.
Yeah, that's pretty lame. I mean, I don't know if it's a glitch. Maybe they'll fix it in the future or something, but damn, that's a letdown. The other effect she has is, of course, the equipment disable, which is probably her most unique thing. A bunch of her attacks also have equipment disable. One of them even, like, specifically disables accessories and that sort of thing. So that might sound pretty useful, but the thing is like, let's say, for example, I want to kill, like, a juggler with a bracer emblem or something, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can, like, disable his bracer. But then it's like, you're spending 2 different attacks to kill that juggler. And it's like, yeah, I mean, sure, but, like, there are units in this game that can kill juggler in 1 hit. So it just seems like you're, like, if you're using Helena to set that up, it just seems like you're adding extra steps to killing a tank.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see.
Other than that, her base attack is 609 in her Strike Master class. That is lower than Leon's 620 attack, and higher than Rosalia's attack, which is like 570 or something. But here's the thing, like, Rosalia actually has a really high ceiling because of her talent and her stacks and all that. So Helena does not have anything like that. She doesn't have the stacks or anything like that, or the terrain that Rosalia creates. She doesn't have anything to compensate for that lower attack than she has than Leon. So generally speaking, I think she's actually going to be hitting weaker than Leon, and she doesn't have much to make up for that. So basically, the bottom line I have is, like, yeah, you got Rosalia, you got Leon. They both offer unique things that they can do. Helena offers a couple unique things herself, but they are not worth taking over what Leon and Rosalia give.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate. I mean, if you liked her design or whatever, I won't say that she's, like, terrible or anything. Like, she's still, like, a perfectly functional cavalry unit. But I mean, I can't see much reason to build her over Leon or Rosalia. She doesn't even offer different factions. She's in Glory and Empire, so it's like, if you're trying to do, like, say, like, the Forbidden Battleground, and you say, like, oh, I didn't have a cav for this one faction, but she doesn't offer that really. And even in the faction that she is in, you got Glory and Empire. Empire's for Sleipnir. She's not that good in Sleipnir because she doesn't have move again, and that's a huge hit. You want move again in Sleipnir.
Yeah.
Glory, H&M, probably not very useful there. Glory for Eternal Temple. Scylla, she's a cavalry unit. You probably don't want to take her there. Empire is Valkyrie. And she's probably like okay in Valkyrie, but it's like, you know, like I said, why would you build Helena over Leon?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of sucks, but yeah, I think she's kind of a disappointing character. Maybe she can be saved if they give her like a special equipment that patches up some of her weaknesses.
Yeah, like lets her have a move again.
Yeah, I mean
something.
they've come up with some pretty interesting like special equipment in the past, so there is hope for her. I don't think like even as is, I don't think she's bad or anything, but she is missing something to really make her stand out, I think. Okay, and next we got the really interesting, and I think the one everybody's waiting for, which is Old Landius, Sage of the Trees, Sage of Yggdrasil, okay Boomer, whatever it is you want to call him. So, like with Helena, you've probably already met Landius in the story, if you've been caught up with the story. He's kind of gone into hiding, and he doesn't really want to deal with the world anymore. Very sad story. I cry every time. So, we talked about Helena's bonds, which were Brenna and Virash, so Old Landius' bonds are much easier. He has Knight of Mystery and Listel. Knight of Mystery, I can maybe see some people not having. Listel, I think most people have. But I mean, even Knight of Mystery, like Knight of Mystery is a pretty strong character in both PvP and PvE, so like I can see the majority of players having these two from Destiny banners in the past and stuff.
Yeah.
And Old Landius, of course, is the one everybody's been a lot of people have been waiting for because he is the second Mythical Realm buffer. Yeah, so right now, Mythical Realm, of course, is the big meta faction. You know, you got people using Rain, Arian Rod, Bolzone. Like, the Mythical faction is pretty crazy right now, and they got a second buffer. So people were going pretty crazy about Old Landius, and some people even thought that he would just completely replace Gizarov and that he's straight up better than Gizarov. I've kind of looked at him in some games. In some cases, he is better than Gizarov, but I think he's actually overall very similar to Gizarov in the sense that his faction buff is quite good too. But he himself, like, he's actually pretty weak. Like, he has an intelligence bonus in his talent. You know, he ignores melee penalties, so that does sound very powerful. But it's like he's actually not that strong. Like he does AOE spells, but like most of the time, like even with the intelligence bonus, they're doing like moderate damage. He's not like, you know, he's nothing compared to the AOE damage from like obviously like Arian Rod or even Reen. You know, so you don't bring him for his damage. And the thing is like most of the time, because of the way his AoEs work, you actually might be casting them on like blank spaces without any enemies on them.
Yeah.
So the way his terrain works, I think people know by now, is that it is basically an obstructive terrain. It stops flyers and riders, which is, you know, like anybody on a horse basically. And it also stops like treating all terrain as plains or grasslands, which is like unicorns or a juggler. It makes it so that they expend 2 points of movement for every single block affected. You know, I don't think I need to explain like why this is like tactically very useful. You know, like you got so many very, very powerful like long-legged flyers and cavalry in this game. You got Claret, you got Ares, even Juggler himself. Even though he doesn't have huge movement range, like this will prevent him from moving as well, because Juggler's talent does say like treat all terrain as grasslands. So yeah, I mean, and unicorns, of course. Unicorns are a very popular soldier choice. If someone equips unicorns, you're gonna have a hard time against Old Landius. So his terrain, like anytime he casts an AoE spell, you will put down this terrain that stops enemy flyers and riders from moving across them as easily. And they also help your own units in that it gives you a move again effect. For your allies, when they move onto his terrain, if they have infantry or aquatic type movement, they can move 2 blocks after attacking. So this actually does not help Helena because, like I said, infantry and aquatic type movement. So by infantry type movement, obviously I don't mean like specifically infantry heroes. It's people with infantry type movement. So, you know, like it's your infantry heroes, your lancer heroes, you know, even your holy like healers or Yusuke. You know, aquatic, of course, is self-explanatory. So units with those types of movement, if you attack while you're on Landius's terrain, you can move out another 2 spaces, which of course is very useful in a number of situations. I mean, I've seen a lot of games where people use this terrain in very, very creative ways. Like you do need to plan ahead a lot in order to use this to its maximum potential. So I think that's one interesting thing about Old Landius. So do you have any thoughts here, Frontier, about Old Landius?
It definitely seems like a cool, unique unit. I do like the characters where I can affect the tiles and change it. Those are really neat and cool. Only really character I can think of that would really benefit from the infantry and aquatics thing would be Reen and Yulia. I want to see, I wonder what the lore thing is about, because aquatics is definitely has to do with Angelina.
Well, there is McLean, who is often depicted as an aquatic unit in this game, but I don't think there's really some kind of lore reason behind it. I think it's just that they wanted to buff up infantry and aquatic movement units, because right now, being a flyer or a cavalry, of course, having large movement is very, very useful, and units that can float get to do it with no real downsides. I mean, when you look at units that use Sky Archers or Bozol or Rachel, who can all float, it's almost all upside, so I think it's interesting to add in a character that can make you reconsider at least a little bit whether you truly need that flying movement utility or not. I guess there's not a ton of aquatic units in the meta right now. Occasionally you'll see Virash. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see Elusia. Elusia is very rare, but Elusia obviously will benefit from this as well. Angelina isn't using her aquatic class very often. I see a handful of aquatic Angelinas, and she's very, very tanky. But yeah, I mean, it'll be pretty useful for her as well if you have her in her aquatic class. But of course, you cannot use unicorns on Angelina if you want to take advantage of this.
Mm-hmm.
Landius, old Landius is like the real Landius in that he has an aura on his 3 cost that's just like the crit reduction aura that the tank Landius has, which is just really, really nice. One of the things about old Landius is that when you put him in a box, he actually creates a huge ban pick dilemma for your opponent, because if your opponent bans Landius and lets you choose Juggler, they have to consider, do I let them have old Landius? Because old Landius obviously buffs Juggler, because Juggler is in the Mythical Realm faction. And of course, Juggler with the Landius aura just becomes a lot tankier and a lot harder to kill. So Landius does, old Landius actually fits in a ton of boxes just for that reason alone. And of course, like I said, ton of mythical characters in the meta right now, so yeah, that helps. And of course, old Landius actually also has a revive. He has the same indomitable passive that the tank Landius has. A lot of times you actually don't see him bringing this, but it is kind of fun to bring.
I also like how he still has his little scarf, but now it's on his wrist.
When I was talking about this with Tassohapa back when we made our first go at this topic when it came on the Chinese server, he pointed out a couple things that are pretty interesting. For example, old Landius's pendant right there. That's actually one of Listel's earrings.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. People who are caught up with the story will know what happened to Listel. I guess I won't spoil it here because I know some people watching this might not have gotten to that point in the story yet.
I haven't.
Okay, you'll find out what happens to almost everybody in Wikigrisser from Wikigrisser 4 and 5. There's flashback stages and stuff that tell you what happens to the majority of them.
That's neat.
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any final thoughts on old Landius here?
I might pull for him. I'll have to see if he comes out before or after the next Focus banner.
As we're recording this, we're about 2 weeks away from the old Landius Helena banner coming out.
Okay, so I'll probably be able to pull him because I need to do the Focus banner for Betty or Emilia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I might pull on that one as well. And I've been kind of looking at old Landius for a while. He's pretty nice, for slower players. You get to slow down your opponent's flyers and stuff. That's always nice. Yeah. In this current meta, I would actually say, in many cases, Gizarov is still better than old Landius. Because Gizarov's got his faction buff lowers cooldowns, which is pretty huge for a lot of those AoE characters. Gizarov's got a summon. He can blow up and suicide to power up Reen and Yusuke. Compared to that, I would say old Landius is more for a slower playstyle. But old Landius's faction buff gives ranged damage plus 12%. This actually, I believe the test on the Chinese server said that this works with AoEs.
Okay.
So he does power up AoE damage. Oh yeah, one last thing. His holy class actually can equip mage gear, so you don't really need to worry about getting a Gift of Eternal Life or something for him, although I know some people are going to be equipping one on him regardless. But you can just stick to mage staves if you want to, like Red Moon and stuff. I think I'm going to be pulling for him, and yeah, and I think the majority of players will be pulling for him too. Okay, next we got 3 cost skills. So this time we're going to get Feraquea, Josh, and Sigma. We've talked about this in the past, of course, and first we got Feraquea. So Feraquea's 3 cost skills just says like it's like a 1 block AoE like Sleep. You know, it targets 1 enemy unit and then switches Feraquea's hero type with the enemy's hero type. So the soldiers don't change, just the hero type. I mean, Feraquea up until now, her function has been to like swap the tank out or whatever, and then kill someone. With this, instead, what people do is that you do use the 3 cost skill on something you want to kill. You turn them into a demon because Feraquea is pretty much always a demon. I mean, you can use Feraquea as her assassin class, but most of the time you're using her. But like, it's better to use this 3 cost skill as her demon class. You change an opponent hero into a demon, and then you can do all kinds of things. Like if it's a holy unit, like Yusuke, for example, you can use Feraquea's 3 cost skill to turn him into a demon, and then Feraquea becomes a holy because he swapped hero types with Yusuke, and then you just attack Yusuke with Plunder, which is a skill that Feraquea has. People have like killed Yusuke doing that. You can also do weird things like, you know, make the enemy's tank a demon and then like kill them with Yusuke or something like that. You can do funny things like that. It's pretty gimmicky, but it is pretty fun to use. I mean, Feraquea has always been kind of a gimmicky, fun character to use, and this is pretty much just giving her a different way of playing. Because if you're using this, like, you would not use maneuver.
Okay.
At least usually. I mean, I can't see much reason to use this 3 cost skill plus maneuver. Usually, you probably want to use this 3 cost skill plus plunder or something.
Yeah.
You have any experience facing Feraquea in Apex or any kind of arena?
I haven't seen her.
She's pretty rare, but like I've seen her like once or twice. But
She's nice to use because she has archers, the demon archers that remove HP. So you can use her in stuff like timeless trials and whatnot.
Yeah. In PvP, I think she's often using like sorceresses or something. You know, those are pretty good. I don't have a lot to say about this one. I'm sure people will have fun with this one. It's, you know, Feraquea has never been a character you should like underestimate. She is, she can spook you. Okay, so next we got Joshua's 3 cost skill. It's like a combination of all his other AoEs. It has increased crit rate like Phantom Raid. It attacks enemies in a line like Dark Demise, although it does not dispel any buffs. It's effective against mages like 2 of his AoEs, and it adds a debuff like Magic Eye. And yeah, I mean, it's like the 0.3 AoE damage means it's not any stronger than a lot of his other AoEs, so that's kind of lame. I would say like Josh's 3 cost skill is mostly situational because it's a 3x5 AoE, so that's a pretty huge range. So that's its main advantage. You bring it if you are expecting that you need the extra reach for some reason. Because otherwise, I feel like Dark Demise plus Phantom Raid is usually still a good choice to have. And with that combination, you can still bring like his Faction Buff or Ruthless. If you bring this, you need to bring like you can either bring this Faction Buff if like he has no other Faction Buff. You can bring like another AoE, and then like he has to bring a 1 cost skill, which is probably going to be Ninjutsu. I mean, I guess you can bring Double Tap if you're a weirdo. But yeah, he's like. Yeah, this 3 cost skill is just okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it gives him extra reach, and then you can run away after it. So like, I think this finds the most use when you use it as the final action of a turn in PvP or something, because then like either your opponent can't react to it like effectively, and you can try to run away with the move again, that's bundled into the skill.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like I can understand why some Josh fans were not happy about this, but it's okay. Like it doesn't help. It doesn't make him like it doesn't revolutionize his character, like his unit in any way.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, finally we got Sigma's 3 cost skill. So okay, I know like we all have already heard about Sigma's SP class and how it will interact with the skill, but we're actually not going to talk about that today because for the next like 5 or 6 months, we're just going to have normal, boring Sigma with this 3 cost skill. And like I discussed with Hasahapa the first time we talked about this is not a great 3 cost. It's okay. we've like after it came out, there were like some videos where like PvE was being cheesed with this skill. Like you could do some pretty funny things in PvE. Like you can, if you combine this with strong wind snipe and his special helm, like he could stay really far away from a lot of like the timeless trials enemies, and you could just like kite them around and just kill them all.
Nice.
So that it is fun to use it in PvE like that, but the problem with it is like, you know, Sigma's always been pretty good in PvE, but like his problem has always been PvP, and like this doesn't really help him. I mean, the main way Sigma gets you these days is by surprising you, and the way that happens is that you accidentally leave someone out of the out of guard range of your tank, and then Sigma can just run up and shoot from like 6 spaces away and kill like someone you accidentally left out of guard range. And people sometimes underestimate Sigma. They think like Bolt Rangers or Shrine Maidens can protect them. Sigma just eats right through those. This doesn't help because of how the skill works. Because this skill is like you mark an enemy, and then that target will take extra damage when Sigma attacks them, and then this skill morphs into an attack that, you know, just does it, which is just like a typical like 1.5 times damage attack. The problem with it is that, like I said, if you are marking someone, then you're just sort of indicating to your opponent, like...
Yeah, let's say you're kind of just telling your opponent which person you want dead.
I mean, you could like try to mark someone and then attack someone else or something, but like,
that's kind of just it. Like, you just meta, but then it's like people would probably get used to, like, because you wouldn't actually go after the person that you just marked, because that would be too obvious.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, I don't. This 3-cost skill is not bad, but it's just like it doesn't help Sigma with any of the flaws he has right now, which is, I mean, one of the big problems is that like Landius is one of the mainstay tanks, and that he can't do anything to Landius.
Yeah.
Like against Juggler, he can hit Juggler pretty hard, but he can't one-shot Juggler unless it's like with Attack Blessing or something. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's this 3-cost skill is okay. It's fun for PvE, but like for PvP, it's kind of like it's okay. And it doesn't really. And Sigma, it was a character that needed a lot more help.
Okay,
this.
Still a 3-star. Woo!
But we will talk about SP Sigma. We'll talk about that next time. But
yeah.
For now, this 3-cost skill is Okay. Finally, we got Narm and Virash's equipment.
Narm.
Yeah, so Narm's helm gives her talent cooldown -1, so basically her talent has 0 cooldown when you equip this. Narm has always been like a PvE star. She's the ultimate fly swatter. She can kite people, and this just makes her do that better. Not much else to say, I think. Like it's like, yeah, I think, I mean, maybe there was no way to fix Narm for PvP, but it's just kind of disappointing that this is what they came up with. But you know.
Yeah. It's also kind of tough that it's a helmet.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to be like, well, crown. What else do I got? Jomander's eye. Got a bunch of other stuff. Like,
I mean, losing Jorm's eye like is not too bad, but yeah, losing Keen's crown it kind of sucks, especially like for PvP purposes. Like even PvE, like even in PvE, Keen's crown is really good.
Or like actual Hugin and Mugen.
I called them Huggin and Muggin. But for them, it doesn't actually matter as much because in a lot of people's setups, Narm is the star DPS. So like, she doesn't need to King's Crown other people. She wants other people King's Crowning her. I guess one thing I will say is that it gives magic defense plus 10% instead of defense plus 10%, which is like, come on, on, guys. Like, like Hugin and Muna is physical, so like, would have been nice to give defense. But...
Yeah, I'm probably not going to get it, which is kind of sad because I like Narm. I was probably one of the few people who actually paid that like $2 thing in the very beginning of the game for Narm.
I mean, I think that pack is still around for anybody who hasn't bought it. It's an okay pack to buy if you are planning to spend money on this game for the first time, I guess. Like, but yeah, like Narm just pretty much just kind of solidifies her as a PvE star. She's not going to be very useful in PvP still. Unfortunate, but that's just. That's what they've gone with for now. Just gotta have to pray for SP Narm at some point. Yep. So now we got Virash's armor. Virash's armor just gives him a buff every time he dies and activates his talent and doesn't die. So That's nice, I guess. The buff list on this armor is the Tenyo's headdress buff list, so he can give himself like damage plus and attack, and he give himself movement plus. So it's a nice buff list. Yeah. Yeah, it just makes him better at what he already is. Like Virash is a huge nuisance if you've ever had to deal with him in PvP. Like he is really, really annoying. And he actually does like you might think like, oh, when he revives he only has like 10% HP. I'll just like he won't do anything to me, but like Virash can hit really, really hard. So watch out.
Okay.
So I mean this is not like some amazing armor, but it's okay, and that makes him better. So yeah, I mean that's just about everything we have to say today. Like there is a Secret Realm event coming up for this month, which is a Children's Day event, starring Vargas and Emilia. It's just gonna be one of those fun like comedy events,
Vargas
basically.
again?
Yeah, you gotta be able to get a bunch of Vargas shards and stuff.
Again.
No free Emilia shards, unfortunately.
Oh dang! Sad times.
It does have. You are going to get Wheel of Fates from the trade this time.
Okay,
So
good times.
all right. But yeah, like next month is kind of uneventful, and I know this is probably going to be kind of a short episode, but that's because we've already talked about this in the past, and I don't think like there's a ton left to say about this patch. You got anything else you want to say here, Frontier, before we finish up?
I'll be looking forward to definitely the banners that are going to come up, and maybe that Macho Lotto or Mr. Knight. That's about it.
All right, so that's cool. So thanks again for coming back, Frontier. I think people missed you from last time.
Okay. Thank you, two people.
All right, that's all we got for you guys today. Good luck on your polls, everyone. We'll see you next time.